On this week's Bet the Process, we have Matt Davidow to talk some props, a couple props, and Rufus and I cover the Super Bowl or the big game. I don't think we're allowed to say the
The
Super
big
Bowl,
game,
the big game. This
relatively big.
podcast is brought to you by No Vig. Again, our friends are back. No Vig is by far, it's the best sports prediction market out there. If you want to go there and bet the big game, we're not allowed to say the other word. You should do it there because it's the best place to do it. Right now, they have Seahawks minus 45 plus 101 and Patriots plus 405 minus 104. So pretty tight. And the money line is minus 212 plus 211. Where are you going to get that? You're not going to get that anywhere. You see anyway? And they even got props there, Roof. They got
I'm
all the
looking at these
props.
props here, in Jigba, 93 and a half receiving yards, over minus 104, under minus 103.
Is there like a tendency? Do you think that like a certain type of bet is probably better on a prediction market than on the rec books?
Um, I think, yes, I think being able to bet no touchdowns because you can't bet those on the rec books
And there's a lot of
outside of
value
Nevada,
potentially to
right?
no
Because
touchdowns.
a lot of people like betting on touchdowns. That's kind of how it is. That's why the books like betting, booking them. And there's a lot of holds. So you're going to get also a better price if you want to bet on a guy to score a touchdown at Novig because it is a two-way market, whereas books are just kind of like extorting you with the prices that they're offering in the over round on those markets. Normally.
Okay. So if you want to bet the big game, go to novig.us, enter the promo code BTP. Definitely best place. It's a great alternative to the rec books, and most places it's available to you. So go check them out. And with that, let's start the process. Welcome to a very special episode of the Brett the Process podcast. It is our Super Bowl episode. Very exciting. Inside baseball, Rufus and I have just been having a deep philosophical talk about the future of the podcast and both of our roles in it. Spoiler alert, we're going to table this conversation until after the Super Bowl because we're both too busy to have this conversation. This is classic, like when couples are fighting. They're like, well, we don't have time to have this fight right now. So we go and just passively aggressively do a podcast. So
Avoidance is always.
So do you have a bunch of Seattle futures given that like we talked about it like a long time ago? And then
No,
Jake Croucher came on our show and basically predicted the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know how many, you weren't here, so you don't even know, but
No, I have a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, I had
this would have been quite the banger.
I had anti-New England ones though too.
Oh, really?
So, well, it was just based on pricing. Like the few times I went through, I had some call sheet on Seattle. I think it's to win maybe 70,000. So it's not a big position, but it's like something.
Do you,
It's not.
do you do you have any examples? Are there any anecdotal examples of a team like the Patriots having had this much success against such a poor schedule? Do you know what I mean? Like you would think that like every year there's teams with really bad schedules and like
I
has
don't
this
have.
ever happened? Because that's ultimately like the one unknown, right? It's like while the Patriots have performed relatively well, the theory and you kind of shit on the Patriots because you don't believe that they're very good because of their
Well,
schedule.
I think they are a good team. I just don't think they're as good as the Seahawks. Like I very much believe they're a quality team.
Do you believe that that they are a better team now than they were halfway through the season? Or do you think there's a possibility that their
Uh,
numbers now are better than what their overall numbers would be?
Well, so my numbers now are much higher than they were at the beginning or halfway through the season, but that's because of priors as well. And so I was anchoring to a different number for them. Like going into the season, I had them rated as a minus 2.5 power rating. Like week
What did you
nine,
have
at the midpoint,
what did you have Seattle ranked as?
um, I had Seattle as a plus 0.74. So that puts Seattle 13th. No, 15th, sorry. And that put New
And
England.
what do you have what do you have their difference now?
Sorry, 13th, and New England was 24th.
What do you have their difference now?
Well, let's go halfway through the season though. You said
Okay.
halfway through. So halfway
Sure.
through the season, then I had Seattle all the way at a plus 5.1, and I had New England as a negative 0.2. So New England gained about,
2.5 points.
yeah. And now I have Seattle as a plus 10.4 and New England as a plus 5.1. So I was going to say that I think part of it is the fact that I think I think they are better than they were at the beginning of the season. And part of it's also that I just have more information to believe that they're as good as they've shown.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because it is non-stationary, but there is this component of we don't know how good they actually are. We're just going off the data, and we had this idea before the season, and how quickly do we move off of that idea? And I think like their strength is they are New England has been very. If you look at the Massey Peabody components, they're an elite team in terms of play success. And they're an elite team in terms of passing offense, and they're a very good rushing offense as well. It's the and honestly, they've been pretty good across the board. Not great. I feel like they're maybe this is going to sound weird, but I feel it. The strength of their team is their offense, not their defense, or it has been.
Well, it has been all year, but the defense, especially down the stretch, was pretty beat up, and they've gotten a bunch of guys back.
Well,
And,
one thing that's changed is that they've been able to generate a pass rush
right.
in the playoffs, and that they didn't really do much of that during the
Yeah,
season.
and that part of that is like getting guys back, right? Like Milton Williams is a pretty big component to that. He's a good run stuffer. Although Harold Landry is going to be out, he's one of their top sack guys, so it'll be interesting. So if you is it simple to if you remove priors that you would just add 2.7 to the Patriots, and or is that not that simple?
I don't know. It's not that simple because there's different priors in different areas. Like the quarterback part is a little more sticky. I think, and it's the different areas too. But
I mean,
I think is a shorthand maybe.
do you think it's possible that like where would you if you were going to make the case for the Patriots being better than what you project them for up beyond like injuries or whatnot, could a lot of be centered on May being better than what your prior projection was by a lot more than what you thought it could be?
Yes, but I think that you could also make the case that I'm not penalizing them enough for playing against backup quarterbacks and things like that. Or I might not be low enough on some of the bad teams they played. The
Okay.
case, I do think I overvalue Seattle, though.
Why?
It comes down to how they've done, like the blowouts they've had. And I may have mentioned this before, and I think it's kind of a limitation of the way I'm doing the ratings now, because aside from like weighting more recent games more heavily, I treat every game as worth the same amount. Not every play is worth the same amount. And so when you have Seattle up like, I don't know, 35 points at halftime against Arizona, and they had like, I feel like there's 4 or 5 games there during the middle of the season mostly where they had insurmountable halftime leads basically. In the second half, like you look at the snaps, and by the way, this is something you have to worry about for props too. Like, you know, Smith and Jigba like doesn't play in the fourth quarter, right? Games like they had a lot of those types of games. And so what we do in terms of situational weighting, like we have a sort of a algorithm, a function, not an algorithm, a function that de-weights games when there's, or de-weights plays when there's less leverage, basically to filter out garbage time. And it's kind of steep at the end, right? Like if it's a fourth quarter and a 38-point game, that's basically that's worth nothing predictively. And so what you end up getting though from these games is that it puts the first halves of these games when they played really well are getting undue weight because every game has the same weight. And so, the 40 plays where they were building that lead are just going to be a little bit magnified. And so that's something I'm looking at addressing in the offseason and trying some different ways to sort of see if I can I don't want them to also get penalized because they generated a big lead and basically say, okay, let's not wait um, this game. Well, but maybe that's what actually I should be doing because, um, or at least scaling it to relative to like the average number of plays in a game. Like a team that's played, has a game where they play a ton more offensive plays than normal. I'm not sure if they should get more weight, but honestly, I've never asked that question. And so I think that's a question I'm going to ask this offseason. But I do think I've seen how much Seattle's rating jumped from these blowout games. Like specifically, they played, I think it was the Saints week 3. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. They won by, I don't know, 50 million points. And they went from being a plus 1.7 going into that game, and coming out, they were a plus 4.3. That's a big movement.
Can I ask you a existential question?
You may.
Do you think that's the best use of your time to try to generate alpha?
No, probably not. But I mean, spending time in the NFL is probably not.
At
But it's
all.
it's it's one of these probably, but it's one of these things. It's like it's non-linear. If I spend a ton of time, then yes, it could be worth it. Spending a little probably isn't.
But you're not betting in an NFL like pregame sides at all, right?
I've been doing some stuff on Call Sheet with that.
Right, but that's more the top-down stuff when you find a
That's using leans and stuff as well,
right.
and and derivative pricing and stuff like that. Yeah, but I would say it's mostly more top down. Yeah,
Okay.
like
What
in
do you make?
college, but I do think what I learned, like this year, we had. I mean, we certainly made more money on college football than I made any year on college football before, and despite the fact that I was like, yeah, my model has some limitations. I feel like I'm not handling I need the transfer portal as well as I could and should. And I think I'm planning on overhauling it this offseason because I do think, given the prediction markets, there's enough upside that that is worth a lot of time. And I also have to talk to Kate. I have to figure out if we want to keep Massey Peabody going because it's one of those things that's kind of just going based off inertia, but it's not really a priority. And it does hurt, if especially now that I've said this to some people that like, yeah, betting off of Massey Peabody college football ratings this year, if you did that, you would have like printed on sides. And most people think it's an afterthought for me. And so they don't even like, I don't think it influenced the market that much, but I mean, maybe it did a little bit. But I certainly don't want it to moving forward. And I think it's better to, especially if I overhaul the model, kind of keep things closer to my chest.
What do you make the total in this game
I don't make NFL total numbers.
at all?
No, I haven't in years. My
Hmm.
totals were never good. Like I've always been weaker at totals in all sports than sides, which is, people say totals are the easier markets to win, but it's never been the case for me. And I think part of it is the way Massey Peabody was built is with the aim of figuring out how good a team is like when it matters, not in garbage time. And so I think were I to build things focused more on totals, it would look a little bit different. I think it would require looking more at how teams perform in certain situations and game states, and then predicting how often those game states happen and kind of simulating off of that.
Is that like take a little um page out of your college basketball stuff?
In college basketball, we're simulating every little freaking thing. But yeah, Eh, but like I see how much work it is to do a really good simulation. And the amount of work required is so much higher than a sort of inference-based model. And you have to get every little thing right generally to have it tuned well. And I mean, years ago, it was what, 2012? I decided to overhaul my baseball model and make it a full simulation based model where I was simulating for each at bat. Was the ball put in play or not? You know, if it isn't, was it a strikeout or a walk or hit by pitch? Like if it's in play, was the ball hit in the air on the ground? So basically pop up, line drive, well, pop up slash fly ball, line drive, ground ball. Like if it's a ground ball, is it stay in the infield or get to the outfield? Then conditional on those, was it a single, double, triple? All these things. It was kind of like think of it like a big decision tree. And then you have to figure out like managerial decisions and stuff like that if you're going from the ground up, like how often is the team going to try to steal a base. I had like player ratings on advancing from first to third uh, on a ground ball single versus a fly ball single, all this stuff. Anyway, I spent like a lot of time on this, and this is back when I was able to, feels like, have more uninterrupted time to work on one thing. Anyway, it ended up coming in slightly worse than the model I already had. So that's the thing. I think sims are like ideally the best thing because you can model reality in the most direct way. And I think that's especially true for football because or because you don't have that many games in football relative to other sports. And the rules have changed a lot in the NFL in recent years. And teams' behavior has changed. Analytics has changed fourth down decision making. You know, the change to the new kicking balls or whatever they're doing with where they store them has allowed longer field goals, but that's been a trend for years. But now, I mean, you have like 60-yard field goals are routine. And so that's going to change up a lot of scoring distributions and stuff like that. And so I think the only real way to model that well is a simulation, but it is so hard to do well. I mean, Matt Davidow, who we're going to have on here, like spent 3 years of his life working just on this. So, you know, it's a really tough problem. And I have so much
who do you think outside of sports, like if you were going to try to build a team or find someone to help you work on a sim outside of sports, like who would you bring in? Like what is the type of person you would bring in that's the best at doing sims?
simming something outside of sports, or you mean bringing somebody from outside of sports in?
I'm assuming like just like everything else, there are smarter people attacking these problems in other industries where there's more money at stake. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the best analytics people in the world aren't necessarily working in sports betting.
Somebody at a very successful hedge fund, one of the biggest ones, told me once that you'd be amazed at how big a percentage of our alpha comes just from linear regressions.
Right,
I fundamentally believe that asking the right questions is so much more important.
But Rufus, you're not listening. You're not understanding my question.
I was just pushing back on.
But simulate. What I'm saying is simulation as a technique, right? And you may just not know the answer to this question, and I don't. But simulation as a technique is probably way more needed in other industries, not necessarily finance, whether it's like, chemistry or medical or something that's just like that they have to sim, again. And I was not thinking finance as the answer to this question. I was thinking like something from completely a different world.
Evolutionary biology.
Like I was about to say like, an astronaut. Like,
what about evolutionary biology?
There you go. Like that, but that's my point. Like
people sim like the human species in evolution, right? How did we get there? Like
neuroscience. So I have no idea. Like there's got to be a world where simulation and like there's experts at simulation that we could bring in to launch our new sports betting company.
I'm finding my old sports betting company, but
no, I'm going to launch my own.
Okay. Jeff, I would push back a little and say what makes a good simulation isn't having the people that have done really complex simulations before. It's in other industries. It's very football specific and understanding the specifics of the game. And then, I mean, yes, there's points where you need to get distributions right and you have to get the interdependencies of things correct. But I think it's a lot of just hard work and making sure you're accounting for all that stuff and thinking through all these possible
We'll
things that could
we'll put
happen.
it to you that put it. Let's put it this way right now, right? Your whole life up till now, like, and maybe not, maybe a couple of years ago, whatever, was very based on like linear regressions, based on traditional models, like traditional modelings, whatever, right?
Well,
I'm just
I think you're
no, no, no.
simplifying it a
Just
little bit. I mean,
let me finish. I'm not
there are some fancier like
fine, fine,
techniques.
but fine,
Yes.
right? But now we're saying there's two new worlds you're entering. One is trading, right? Which is we learned a lot that there's people out there like Chris that we had on last week
Hmm.
that could have given you or will give you, who knows, a head start in the world of applying trading techniques to sports. Similarly, do you think there's a person out there, maybe you don't think so, that could have given you a head start in the world of simulation in sports?
See, but you're making it sound like simulation is a technique. Simulation isn't a technique. There's techniques in the different parts that go into the simulation, but it's the simulating part isn't the hard part. It's the modeling the things that go into the simulation. Being able to say this team that's up 14 points, how is that going to affect in the, with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, how's that going to affect their pace of play? How's that going to affect how aggressive they are? How's that going to affect their decision to go for it on fourth down versus punt versus kick field goals, right? When will this team that's down 14 with 10 minutes to go in the game go for it on 4th and 2 from their own 25-yard line or not, right? Like there's all these things that you could model like team behavior, but it's going to change so much based on game state and being able to get all that stuff right, because that stuff feeds into the simulation,
Right.
right?
Okay. We'll
And
drop it.
yeah, it's
Okay.
and like
Let's.
and these games that end up being like scoring fests. I mean, like how do you update your priors on a team based on what they've done so far in a game? Like if there are games um where you should be updating, right? Like there's more, you essentially have to say, okay, I have this idea of how good a team is at such and such, or what their style is at such and such. But you don't just have a mean estimate. Like or you don't have one estimate. That's the mean of a distribution of what their skill could be. Or and then you have different possible worlds. And so based on observing this in the sim, like you need to update that but being able to get that right at the tails is like really important. It's the same thing,
Um,
like, I mean, because golf I do simulations, right? And it's, I haven't done shot level simulations yet. Um, because I mean, I do think at some point, I mean, well, I think it is the correct answer if you want to do things the best. I don't think it's the best use of my time in terms of the alpha it provide right now. But again, I mean, it's dealing with, you're updating even just round by round. You're updating player skill. You're having to figure out like, should this player like, should Justin Rose get updated more than I don't know, Hideki Matsuyama after his first 2 rounds? Like Justin Rose should be considered more of a known commodity given his how many years he's been around. Same time he's added 4 miles an hour. According to the broadcast, he added 4 miles an hour in it was either ball speed or club head speed from last year. Like, are we not updating quick enough? Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I'll stop.
I'm gonna ask you about a couple props just from a layman's perspective, and then we're gonna get Matt Davidow in hopefully to finish this podcast off. But um, my impression would be that the Kenneth Walker under on rushing yards would be almost for sure a good bet.
So it's interesting. I think with a lot of the way I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff, and maybe this is more because with Kalshi too, you have markets for like different numbers of rushing yards. You could have like Kenneth Walker 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus, 90 plus, 100 plus. But for me, it's like the uncertainty around what his usage is going to be. And I think everybody's going to be anchoring so much to what he did last week, which was the only game in 2 seasons where he and Charbonnet were like the co-number one backs that Charbonnet didn't play. And so I'm kind of trying to think about like, okay, what are the possible worlds of his playing time? Like last week, he had 85% of the team's runs that on non-quarterback scrambles, non-quarterback kneels. He had 85% of the team's designed runs. Like, the question is, what is that going to be this week? What do we think that's going to be? Yet he was only on the field for 64% of the snaps, but he was on the field for 92% of the run snaps. Like, do you think that Helani plays a bigger role,
I
a
do.
smaller role? Because you could also say, okay, this is the Super Bowl. Fire all your bullets.
Right.
Kenneth
YOLO.
Walker's had 2 weeks of rest. Like,
Probably
maybe just maybe go full Christian McCaffrey, and like it feels like in the Niners in the playoffs in the past, McCaffrey just doesn't ever want to go out.
Drake May rushing yards.
I didn't answer your question whether it's good or bad, by the way.
No, I mean, I
I
think
don't know.
I think you did, because ultimately, like, what I wanted to understand is a little bit of what your process was, and that's kind of like the process that I went through a little bit, which is, I mean, what's interesting is when we had on Adam Levitan,
Hmm.
and we didn't know who was going to get the snaps for. He mentioned Helani, right, and basically
Yeah,
said,
who
"Here,
had been
this is a
on the
guy."
line.
He said, "This is a guy they like, and if he's healthy, he'll be in there over Velas or Zealous, whatever, Velas Jones."
Dallas Jones.
And Velas Jones, I don't even think played, did he? Or I don't remember.
I don't even know if he's active.
Yeah.
He certainly
So
didn't. He didn't play an offensive snap. I'll put it
so
that way.
my guess is
Might be a
like
special teams guy. I
my
don't know.
my guess is they're gonna Helani will be in there more. But who knows? Because I think you're right. There's like that world where everyone's like, oh, finally they got, now game state obviously will dictate it more. Like obviously if the Patriots for somehow, some way are able to get any kind of a lead, they're probably going to get more of an opportunity. I mean, he'll get fewer opportunities.
Holani will.
No, Kenneth Walker. They'll just run
I think
less.
so. Yeah, I mean, at the same time though, Kenneth Walker was more of a. I mean, was he more of a pass catching back? He was on the field for a larger percentage of pass plays when Charbonnet was healthy than he was last week.
Sure. But you would expect that, right? Because they have someone new that they don't trust quite as much. And
If you break it down, like last week, his snaps, it wasn't like Helani was the third down back. Like it looked, because I was looking, it felt to me maybe because I saw like Helani had a ball hit off of his shoulder pads when he wasn't ready for it on third down from Darnold, um, that like Helani was the third down back, but that wasn't the case exactly. It was, but it was very run pass play specific. My big question is the Patriots running back situation. Because you had Travion Henderson get like 5 snaps, 3 snaps. It was absurdly small number. And that's continued a trend basically where like Stevenson has been the guy in he's gotten like a greater percentage of the runs each week. And I was talking to Zach White about this yesterday, and I mean, we both each shared. I shared with him what my running back rush attempt numbers were for each guy, and he was kind of like, "Man, that's low on Henderson," but I really don't know, and because like Henderson was like kind of the bell cow for them for part of the season, and then
well,
Ramondre comes back. Well, Ramondre
Ramonder's
was
hurt.
hurt, right? But even then, like Ramondre was not getting as many carries as Travion was
Yeah.
until the playoffs. And so is the team lost trust in Travion? Is it, I mean, I'm interested in looking at like how much a team's usage of running backs changes as a function of how effective they were the previous game. Like, so almost like we can look at their snaps and what percentage of the team's design rushes they've gotten in the past. But then should I be updating also based off of how they've done like in recent games, relatively speaking? Because if you look back at when things started to change there, I think it came right after. Let me pull this up actually. Like Ramondre, like started having like some really good games. Like, okay, week 18, Ramondre had 7 carries for 131 yards. That same week, Travion, 13 carries, only 53 yards. That was the last week of the regular season. And by the way, before that, week 16, Henderson only had 5 carries for 3 yards. And, or sorry, no, wait, that's Travion, actually. Never mind. But in the playoffs, it's not like he's been like Ramondre's been like he's been very good. Like 10 carries, 53, 16 for 70, 25 for 71. But again, the end of that was like in the crazy weather and they were just trying to like protect the ball. And the big thing is he didn't fumble too. But I mean, Travion 3 carries for 5 yards. Like,
But
sorry.
there's what's interesting is there's like at least a narrative about Travion versus too high, and like Seattle plays the most too high, and so there's some theory that Travion will they'll release the Kraken here against
Wait, so what is the theory on Travion against too
that
high?
he's good against too high.
What
And
makes him good against too high?
I don't know. This is literally something I heard. I think I heard this on Simmons's podcast from someone who wrote in on a mailbag. So this is the biggest game of telephone there is. But
Okay, so
the only thing that would be interesting is that
I mean, I can look at that in the charting data and give you an answer. That's something to look at. So thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
But is it that he's used more against too high? Or
I think
not?
he's used more and he's successful more, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing, I think the Travion thing will be fun. I think I will be betting overs on Travion just because I think it'll be fun to root for. And
It's one of those, but this is one of those things that comes down to, do you believe that there is a trend that is going to continue? Well, I don't think you could say it'll continue because I don't think Travion's getting fewer than 6.6% of the snaps regardless. But his snap percentage, like week 17, 53%, week 18, 42, then 38, then 17, then 7, right? In that same period, Ramondre's gone from 50%, 49, 66, 81, 93. Like, do you take the average of some of these? Like, do you,
well, I mean, you got to
weighted average, weighting more towards recency is like I don't know, I'd say,
I mean, but both of their all three of their games were in shitty condition, right? I think the Chargers one was in fine run condition, but the other two I think were kind of bad, even from a running perspective, where it was like the footing was shitty and like it was just not. There's precipitation basically, and
Travion isn't waterproof.
well, I would if you watch the two of them run, you would expect that the footing would probably affect Travion more than it would Ramondre.
Because Ramondre is more of a downhill, like
he doesn't lift his
north
feet.
and south.
He doesn't
runner.
cut. Like he just like one cut. Like Trevion's like fast and like they're just very different running backs. Like it wouldn't.
But what's interesting though is that Ramondre has been the pass catching back of the two all year, which you wouldn't think is going to be the case for like the big bruising back.
I mean, he's skilled. He's a very good 3 down back. I mean,
Yeah.
Ramondre is for sure.
And he's fixed his fumbling problems so far.
You fix your fumbling problem. You just jinx
Until
them.
you don't.
You just jinx them. I'm knocking on wood, everyone, because Rufus is trying to jinx the Patriots because he has Seattle features. So
I don't honestly, but again, this is one of those situations where I'm like, the uncertainty is really high. It wouldn't surprise me if Ramondre ended up getting like 80% of the rushes. I mean, it would surprise me a little bit. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 50-50 split, or even if Travion got a few more than Ramondre. Like,
okay.
I think all of those are possibilities. And we'll hear what Davidow has to say.
Last question because you're busy. Uh, right now, if you're going to bet the Patriots, if you had to bet the Patriots, would you bet them at plus 4.5 or plus 195?
Um, plus 4.5, I believe. I haven't done I actually have to pull up what the numbers say there, but I would, I mean, it's the first Super Bowl with the spread of more than like a field goal we've had, and it feels like 10 years. Is that about right? And so there's the sort of famous Super Bowl middle that generally opens up because you have a lot more recreational action coming in, and those people, these rec bettors, don't want to they're not going to want Seattle on the money line. They're not going to want minus 200 and whatever it is. What is that number?
230, something like that, 220.
Yeah. Minus 213 at Novig. Novig is, according to my ad screen, minus 213 and plus 212.
Wow.
That's a solid, that's solid. So they wouldn't want that. So like there's going to be value, I think, on Super Bowl Sunday, laying Seattle on the money line and then taking the Patriots plus the points, just relatively speaking. We haven't had a Super Bowl with a spread like this in a while, though. So, maybe that inefficiency is not as large as it used to be, or maybe it isn't even there. I mean, home betting, just blindly betting home underdogs used to be really good, right?
Okay, really last question.
But look, so based on the spread of, you said plus 4.5 minus 110, or would I rather have the money line at plus one what?
195, say.
Actually, based on that, I'd rather have the money line at plus 195.
Yeah, my perception was that this is not as out of whack as it's been in the past.
But it never gets out of whack at the beginning. It's when the public action comes on, Super Bowl Sunday. So
really last question, but which direction do you think the line's going to go? The spread
towards Seattle.
So you think this closes? Where do you think this closes?
5.5, maybe 6.
Okay.
I took Seattle at the opener, or right. I don't know if it was the opener, but right after the game ended, I grabbed, when Bet Online opened with a 4, I grabbed it, and then I grabbed 4.5 when Circa put that.
I grabbed Patriots plus 5.5.
Okay, well done. And I thought, and then it went up to I think it went up to 5.5. That 4.5 I got, it turns out I wasn't exactly correct, because right now you can get minus 4.5, minus 101 at Bookmaker, which is better than anything I got. So, and I don't even make it that much of an edge. I make the Seahawks like a 5.5, 6-point favorite. But
what are the odds that Sam Darnold sees ghosts again?
Do ghosts even exist?
They did when he played the Patriots. When he was with
I do remember this.
Yeah, he saw.
Yeah, ghosts. Maybe you'll see the ghost of Bill Belichick.
Was Bill Belichick's ghost in the Hall of Fame or not?
Yeah, I was going to say the ghost of Bill Belichick's first ballot Hall of Fame candidacy. I'll see that.
Do you have any thoughts on the ridiculousness of that? Or
I think it's ridiculous, but yeah.
I think it's ridiculous, but I actually don't even, as a Patriots fan, for whatever reason, I just don't even care that much. It's just so dumb that it's who cares? It just makes the Hall of Fame seem stupid.
It does, but Pete Rose isn't in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Okay, let's bring Matt.
Let's bring Matt
Davidow in.
No, I want to talk about the Pete Rose thing. I think that's interesting. Do you feel like all of those guys, like Rose, Bonds, okay, take Rose.
Okay, Rose didn't. It all depends on what you think the Hall of Fame should be and should represent. Is it Pete Rose didn't, as far as we know, take performance-enhancing drugs, but he did he bet on games when he was a coach.
Okay, so how about this?
Manager.
Who you have one vote, Rose or Bonds? Who do you vote for?
I would take Rose over Bonds. I mean, I think that both are equally deserving in terms of the merits of how good they were. I mean, and I think Bonds without steroids is still a Hall of Famer, but I think that if I could only take one, to me, there's not a question of Rose during his playing days. So I would take Rose. But to be fair, I think they both should be in the Hall of Fame. If
I think I would take Bonds. And the reason I would take Bonds is because like he was doing something that everyone else was doing. It wasn't like that was the steroid era, right? It's not like he was the only person in the league taking steroids.
Okay, well, Bill Belichick is more of a Rose situation, isn't it? Because the whole like filming practices and the deflate gate and stuff, the integrity questions there.
No, he's more of a Bond situation. Because Rose didn't do anything to improve his performance, right? That's what you're saying. You're saying that Belichick did stuff to improve his performance similarly to how Bonds did.
But I get where you're coming from there, but you said that everybody was doing it with steroids. And do you think everybody was filming opponents' practices and deflating balls? So
who knows? I mean, I'm not saying they were all doing the exact same things he was doing, but I do think like historically in sports, people have always looked for ways to get an edge, right? And
yes.
Again, like the this is like honestly, we'll stop, but I think
let's stop.
I think it's a fascinating conversation.
This podcast, because we want time with Matt, so like I feel like this is gonna be a long.
No, but we could talk about the Astros also, right? We could just go on, we should have a episode on like cheating because I actually think because like some people think card counting is cheating, right? So, anyways, let's get Matt Davidow in. So, we'll talk to you guys all again later.
We now welcome in Matt Davidow to the Bet the Process podcast. Matt is one of our favorite guests. We were just talking off air that whenever we, whenever we get into this getting him on, he always talks about doing work, and I'm like, what is doing work for you right now, Matt? So what does that mean? What's your process for getting ready for this?
What I was saying was I hadn't done any work on the game. Like I hadn't looked at the game. I'm going to make a bet for myself at some point in the game, but I don't know what, and I need to study it to figure it out. I was playing with my kids all week instead of, now that I'm your average rec, I like to wait to game day.
Got it. So what has your work indicated to you so far?
So far, I whipped up 20 minutes of scrolling through the Pinnacle props, and I'm curious as to how whatever his name is, Walker. I shouldn't say it like that. Kenneth Walker.
We talked about him a little bit yesterday when we recorded. So
backstory. Kenneth Walker's like a really I think he's a decent back. You don't want him to get 4 yards, but if your player's going to get 40 yards or -3, he's perfect. And he's been sharing duties all year with the guy with Charbonnet, the guy that got hurt, Zach Charbonnet. So Kenneth Walker, for whatever reason, can't keep his balance when a pass rusher's coming. Like this guy, I swear he blocks like you, Jeff. Like you could get out there and be the same.
You never see me block. How do you know I could be a great blocker?
Matt, do you see how he lines up? Like he's standing, he doesn't bend over like most people do.
He does the Genty thing.
And literally, I'm afraid, it makes me nervous to watch. Like, I'm like, is he going to fall backwards?
I don't understand that. I don't understand the lineup. I don't understand any of it. I know he's good at breaking tackles. He's quick. Anyways, he's block.
Not a good pass blocker.
So they play Charbonnet every time they play it. Anytime a team might blitz, on any passing down, they play Charbonnet. Now Charbonnet's hurt, and they started playing Helani instead, who, I didn't watch the last game close enough to see if Helani was any good, but he played a lot of snaps.
He played most of the passing snaps, and Walker played 92% of the rushing snaps.
So I wonder if Vrabel will be onto that, which is my other general take on the Patriots is, holy shit. I mean, I don't want to say anything rumor-wise, but from Vrabel, I've never seen a team week by week all year be so prepared game plan-wise as this Patriot team this year. I mean, every week I'm just blown away. They come up with a new concept, something new every week. They always have the right defensive strategy in place. So in this case, I mean, I wonder if they're going to pick up on the Walker rushing all the time. Also, if Walker's in, how about send the blitz? Just send the blitz. Either Walker's got to pick up. If it's a pass play, Walker's got to try to block or sneak out. And Darnold, he don't like to make a quick hot read. He wants to hold the ball. I'm kind of surprised that the Rams were so bad on defense last week. It's funny, I saw a thing. I mean, I'm all over the place here. I saw a thing about Chris Shula. Like, someone made a comment about how the Rams should get a real defensive coordinator. And I'm like, holy shit, are you kidding? The Rams have like been dynamite with these young players, and obviously Chris Shula's only had the one, this one job. But I'm like, how are you thinking that they can do better than the way above average with this, with, I mean, decent young talent, but I think Chris Shula's done a great job, but last week's game plan didn't seem special to me.
Well, wasn't a little bit of, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that Seattle game was a lot of game state, right? Like, meaning that as soon as Seattle scored first and they were able to play from like a positive game state, and they only had that one, you don't buy that?
I think it's a narrative. I think that's a post game narrative, in that the reason they were in the game state over and over again is because they kept converting third downs.
How much of that do you think was like them being good, or that being random, or the Rams being bad?
I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, we're really talking about 5 or 6 key snaps, so it's obviously going to be mostly randomness. But at the same time, all the Rams had to do was make one play. They didn't blitz that I saw on third down, and I was surprised at that. But I mean, when you have the 4-man pass rush they have, again, it's all easy in hindsight. We watched what happened. Darnold made every play through the right guy consistently, checked down at every right spot. I wish I was at the game, because I hate watching these games on TV, because you don't really know what's going on in the pass play when you watch it on TV. You're watching a rush. He throws the ball. Someone might be open. Someone might not be open. You just don't know. I mean, I watched the whole Herbert affair in New England, and I mean, it was driving me crazy because I needed the Chargers to score points, and I had no idea why they couldn't score points. I was like, okay, he's got time to throw. Why isn't he throwing? Throw the ball, Herbert. Throw the ball, Herbert. Throw it somewhere. Whip it. Just never did, and I had no idea why, because I'm watching on TV and I got Tony Romo or something.
Have you ever gotten access to the
Tony Romo making animal noises for you?
Have you ever gotten access to the all 22s, Matt?
I mean, I like to, but they're so slow. The way they set those up, I mean, you're talking about 15 minutes a game.
Got it.
My brain doesn't work fast. I like to watch it. I like to go to the games. I like to go to the games, and I like to watch them go. Yeah.
So what's your seat of choice going to the games to be able to get the perspective you want?
From watching the game, I like, it depends on the stadium, but like the second level end zone seat is where I like to sit. Now, my wife likes the club seats. So, and my son likes to sit like on the tunnel. When you sit on the tunnel, you don't see shit. But your son has a good time, and guess where we sat 3 times this year.
Does he just want autographs? Is that why, or he wants to see the players as they go in and out?
A little bit of both. He likes the idea that he can sometimes get autographs, but I mean, it's tough to get autographs at the pro games. Like, they don't. I mean, he missed the Bowers one at the Raiders game here. Like, we had season just by like a second. I went to sign one thing with the Raiders jersey, and my son was wearing Raiders stuff too. But it's the pro players are not generally interested in playing the game at that point. He just likes to watch. He just like stands there and watches.
So you digressed. You were talking about Kenneth Walker. Was that leading us to some sort of opinion on a prop bet?
Well, that was I was surprised. Let me just I don't know. Take this with a grain of salt, because I haven't done the math, and math can win at the end of the day if he gets enough carry. I mean, I was surprised he was at 18.5 carries and 75.5 yards at Pinnacle. I was like, that's a lot of yards for a guy playing half, especially when you think about the Patriots' actual defensive strength, which is stopping the run.
I mean, how much of
that one?
Yeah. Well, we talked about that yesterday a little bit. Like just the general. That was my point of view, was that Kenneth Walker unders without having any analytics or any math seemed like a reasonable thing. And now we have someone that's much smarter than me saying the same thing. And what other things did your 20 minutes of musing lead you to?
This is like, who would throw a third passing attempt?
Who?
There's
always. Okay, I mean, teams.
Juwan Jennings? Oh wait, he's not.
Teams do more trick plays historically in Super Bowls. Actually, I don't know if that's actually statistically significant or anything like that. I just know that any sort of gimmicky trick plays, things they're saving, like
I mean, I know we've seen a lot of those in Super Bowls, and I would argue that, teams are maybe more likely to try one of those in Super Bowls. But that's why my question was, who would throw the pass? Like, I don't remember seeing any of these skill players on either team ever throw a pass. I could be wrong. There's a lot of players, but that was what made me like, wait a second, who else could throw a pass other than a quarterback on these teams? Like I've never seen one out of any of these other players. Whereas usually you kind of know who's going to throw the pass if there's one, right? Like if you think the past Super Bowls, and you say, okay, who's going to like, what are you betting on? You're betting on a trick play to X or Y. I mean, I guess you have McDaniels, and he.
Yeah, back in the day, you had like Edelman throwing the passes for New England.
But he had Edelman though too, right? I mean, I don't think the Patriots have done one of those all year. If I can, I mean, I'm going by memory here. This is,
I'm trying to see if they actually have had somebody throw a third pass. I mean, or throw a pass that was not.
So you think, Matt, potentially that they're pricing this normally, and this is an anomaly one where neither of these teams have an obvious candidate to be.
I guess. I mean, again, very much not a map take. Like there could be map that even supports the same as Kenneth Walker. I mean,
but is it? I mean, like, is there really math that can support something like that?
I don't know. The Kenneth Walker one, there definitely could be because Kenneth Walker's going to run a whole bunch of plays.
Cooper Kupp has one pass attempt.
They're trying to hand the ball to Walker.
Who does Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has a pass attempt this season.
Okay.
It was not completed. It was intercepted.
And then you can play the Kubiak.
It was intercepted.
What about
now Kubiak?
I feel like if it was intercepted, I mean, maybe they don't go back.
He probably has the job no matter what he does in this game, but maybe he would be less likely to want to call a trick play that could lose a game right before he's about to become the Las Vegas Raiders head coach.
Yeah, and some guy named Marte Mapu, a linebacker, has been sacked this season for New England. I don't know how that happened. I'll have to look.
He's probably lined up.
I'll have to look at the play description of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that might have been a fake punt. I think that might have been a fake punt against the Ravens.
Okay.
He was trying to throw it, but didn't get it off.
Okay, so to be clear, I get the Super Bowl, but these teams have played 34 games. They've called 2 pass plays, not the quarterbacks, and one of them they didn't even get the pass off. Like you'd have won the bet. What's the
line in that one?
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it's the Super Bowl, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What do we know? What's the under on that?
Yesterday it was minus 224. I didn't bet
the public.
I'm not even saying it's a good bet. I really don't know. It's just things I saw scrolling through that I thought would be an interesting conversation.
By the way, last season Smith and Jigba 1 for 1, 35 yards.
I tell you what,
100. His QBR was 100.0.
If that guy rolled out and like threw a pass with his left foot, I would just not be that shocked. Have you ever seen a player with that much like body control and athleticism?
The ball's like, I'm curious, are these gloves like just so good, or his hands?
They all wear the gloves.
I know, but like
anybody else catch
his gloves look so sticky. I mean, the ball just like sticks.
The gloves are really good. They do wear brand new really good gloves, but they all wear them. You don't see anyone else catching the ball like that. Him and Puka. So I saw a Cooper Kupp narrative on those two guys. I don't know how much of it was in jest, especially because the Rams couldn't wait to get him out the door. But the suggestion was that Cooper Kupp was so good at playing receiver mentally that it rubbed off on both Puka and Jigba. Which makes a little bit of sense. The one thing that all three of them do great is how quickly they get upfield with the ball after it hits their hands. That's why Puka gets so many runs after carry. I mean, I've never seen anyone get up the field so fast after he gets the ball. He's also strong and also all these other things, but his actual, I think, difference making is how quickly he gets up the field. Now, I mean, the Jigba, he seems to just catch everything. And Jigba's secret sauce is he's running so smooth. Hits like Devontae Adams laid hands on crack, right? So Devontae Adams, gets open because the defender's so worried he covered him and he doesn't like move and he catches it, right? And Jigba's taking this to another level. It's not only late hands, it's late everything. Like the guy, like the cornerbacks think about how many reps the cornerbacks get, right? So the cornerbacks are repeatedly, throughout college, they're watching receivers. And every time the ball's in the air, the receiver's mind knows the ball's in the air, sees the ball's in the air. The receiver moves just slightly differently. The cornerback reads this just because he's done it 100 times or whatever. And then he kind of knows the ball's coming. So in Jigba, though, just doesn't fucking move. Like his body's not moving like the rest of the receivers when the ball's in the air. That's why. His arms not hitting this arm or in the ball or all that. His arms are just down when Jigba just catches it. We're like, holy shit, how did he get that? How did he get that? It's because the defender's arms aren't there because they don't know the ball's coming. I'm pretty convinced of this.
And we learned from Tom Brady in I think it was the divisional playoff game that that
He doesn't move his
he
shoulders.
keeps his
He doesn't-
shoulders like
yeah,
level before
level.
breaks or something.
Okay, that's
He
the
doesn't
same
give it
idea.
away.
Same
I mean,
idea.
it's
Yeah.
it's like the little things. It's so interesting to think about that too, and just look at what people are drafting players on. They're like, okay, what's his 4 speed? What's his 40 speed? What are all these measurables? And it's like the skill of the position, the little things that don't show up in your combine results.
I mean, it's interesting that Indiana just won a national championship with guys that can't run but can play football,
Yeah.
and they shit out with the quarterback too. I don't think there's a lot of like stickiness to they grab the quarterback and he's first overall. I mean, I think they got a little. I mean, he's got a
Yeah,
little
but I
lucky
mean,
there.
they didn't have him last year, and they still won 11 games.
Well, Rourke played really well. They're great across the board. I'm just saying I think that's the difference between losing in the round of 8 and winning the national championship was.
Well, but this is classic alpha, right? Like in the new college football, like where do you find your alpha? Your alpha are these like older players that are coachable. You don't believe that?
Maybe it feels like kind of a one-off-ish thing. Remember, they all got the extra year because of COVID. Now, maybe they're all suing to play college for 10 straight years now. Why not? They make so much money. But maybe I don't.
Well, but the trend, Matt, is going to be that players stay longer. I feel like, or at least that's the way it's going right now.
That's true.
So it's maybe not a one-off.
I mean, the worst place you can spend your money right now in college football is on a guy out of high school. Like, whenever I read who's getting the 5-star out of high school, who cares? I mean, remember all the hype with Julian Lewis, for instance, at Colorado? It's like, oh my God, they got Julian Lewis. Okay, well, he played 1 year and then he could go more or less anywhere else. I mean,
it's
like
there's a lot of
somebody
reasons,
to develop
right?
a player.
One, they're younger, so they're not as physically mature. Two, there's just way more risk around them because you only seen them play in high school. There's more uncertainty.
Yeah.
So there's just like, it doesn't make any sense at all. So, if you think like the Clemsons or whomever that are grounded more on, these 5 stars, maybe even Ohio State and like the teams that but it will be interesting to see how quickly these, blue chip schools gravitate towards.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I agree with almost everything you're saying. But one counterpoint to this is that when you look at the actual best players in college football, they're still almost always second and third year out of high school players. Like, in other words, non-draft eligible players. Like the actual top. Not necessarily quarterbacks, but they might even start to change. We look at the best receivers, the best safeties. I mean, there's the best cornerback last year, the guy that played for Tennessee, who tore his ACL. I forget his name. He was likely to be if he was likely the top rated. I think it was Mel Kiper's top rated cornerback after his second year at Tennessee. There's a number that Downs. Obviously Jeremiah Smith. I think the top of the top still ends up being like slightly younger players. So the actual highest ceiling is probably like a combination.
What do you think? You said that the Patriots have done a really good job changing things up, etc. Do you have any guess, or is there any thing that you think that they would try to do to stay in this game or be competitive?
Blitz. That's what I mean. This is the back to the walker. What I would do if I were the Patriots, I would blitz. I would try to put Gonzalez on a jig when I blitz.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I played man and blitz.
Anything offensively?
Offensively, they're in trouble. The Seattle has so much talent on defense, plus great coaching, and honestly, outside of Drake May, the Patriots don't have any good players on that side of the ball. It's a credit to May. It's a credit to McDaniels. They've also obviously got very lucky overall in the schedule and in some games as well. There's a handful of games they had no business winning. Of course, if they won, some of that's coaching, some of that's May. May is really good.
They shouldn't have lost to the Steelers early in the year when they turned the ball over 5 times too, though.
Yeah, they shouldn't have.
I still remember that because I had a Patriots over regular season wins, and they started the season 1-2 or something like that, and I was like, man, losing that Steelers game could come back to haunt me.
I had Patriots under regular season wins, and so I had somewhat of this combination of bets: Patriots under 7.5 plus money regular season wins, and Patriots minus 2.5, minus 110 at home to the Las Vegas Raiders.
That's a pretty nice.
I think I was like slightly
the first game. That was the first game of the season.
It did not work out.
That was the first game of the season, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think about what that line. Yeah, how bad
Well,
the
there's the
Raiders
part I
were.
didn't understand. Like, okay, if you're going to tell, certainly the Patriots had a ton of variances. Certainly they had, I mean, May was good. They had upside. McDaniel's good coaching. And I mean, maybe I didn't give that enough credit. But when you just go down their roster, they just don't have a lot of talent. I mean, they had young guys that really played better this year than they had to. And Booty's been great. But Stevens has been great. I'm not saying no players. I should, but for the most part, the talent level is not that high. And then if you do think you're going to win more than 7.5 games, well, certainly they have to be better than the Las Vegas Raiders, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to this.
Sorry.
Do you think that is there a world where the unlock on their offense may be just running May a bunch, even with his? I mean, obviously the shoulder injury is concerning, but like,
I don't think it's a shoulder injury, or I mean, whatever it is. I think it's very minor.
okay?
You know otherwise. I mean, you're the Patriots guy.
No, I think there was a lot of worry because he sat out some practices, but obviously, like it doesn't matter, right? Like when you're, I don't think it matters. No, I think he's fine, but there was some
Give him
rumblings
whatever
about that.
shots he needs.
But my question is like, does I feel like I've always felt like, and this is partially like this is like this weird thing, right? Like we had this quarterback named Tom Brady, who is arguably the best quarterback, but there was always this frustration when you watched him versus like a Lamar Jackson, when a play broke down, has no ability to turn that into just, like turn what looked like a very negative EV situation all of a sudden into a very positive EV situation.
Yeah.
So like quarterback running, and if you have a quarterback obviously like May who also can throw the ball.
I mean, it's really, really hard for me to think that the Patriots can win this game without May being the MVP. I don't know what those prices are, but now that you're talking, that's a thought.
It's like plus, it's not much different than the money line.
Well, that's the problem. You're dealing with
Yeah.
so much hold in the MVP market, I guess. This can never be the right idea, but
I mean, if you could get real odds on it, my MVP would be like Marcus Jones, because if the Patriots win, it's probably like a punt return and like a pick of some sort, right?
the thing is, even if those things happen, those guys don't always get the MVP.
Well,
You know who never gets the MVP is a running back. There was that year,
Damian Williams.
And
we were all. I was holding him at 65 to 1.
What the hell?
65 to 1. I watched highlights of that game the other day on Twitter, and I still can't believe he didn't win the MVP. Like he was so effing good in that game and didn't win the MVP. 3 touchdowns, right?
And then James White, the year against Atlanta with that comeback, James White had how many touchdowns did he have?
He had 3 touchdowns.
Three
also.
touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
But I mean,
a bunch of yards.
The Patriots and Tom Brady, and they just came back from
And Tom
22
Brady
down.
hadn't I want to look at that box score again, but
Tom Brady had like 400 yards in that game, though.
All of this
but
award stuff, I don't want to say it's
threw a
stupid
pick
because it's
six.
interesting. But each voter is voting for it. Like there's no like set standard. It's like some voters are going to pick the actual most valuable. Some are going to pick the guy who played the best game. Some are just going to pick the best player if they had a good game. It's not clear what they're actually voting on. They're just picking a guy, right?
yeah. I mean, you're right. Brady did have 43 pass complete. He had 62 pass attempts in that game. I don't think I ever 43.
They were down 28-3.
2 touchdowns a pick, was sacked 5 times. Yeah, James White had 14 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown, 6 carries, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns.
So if you're a stat voter, then you're absolutely voting for White.
And the game-winning touchdown. But
You know what they should change the award and not have people voting for things they don't know. They should just say whoever gets in the end zone most with the ball, that's the guy.
well, it's less fun to bet on. Actually, I don't really bet on it.
Is it? I don't know.
What I've heard is apparently the
You guys
voting
seem very
occurs-
upset
the
about
voting occurs
other people's
before-
decisions from 10 years ago. Doesn't
the
sound
voting.
fun.
I've heard the voting occurs before the game's even over, though. Seems dumb.
I don't think so. It's like betting on the Oscars or betting on the WWE.
It's like mid-fourth.
Not necessarily fixed, but
Yeah.
you're betting on someone else's decision at the end of the day. It's like betting on assists in the NBA, right? Imagine how easy that is to fix.
Yeah. Just get
And
the
yet every
official
sports
score.
book takes them. You get some guy making $60K a year deciding whether a guy gets an assist. I mean, think about how
There's
little
judgment
you-
calls,
they-
right? It's the
they get
judgment
an edge
calls that
there,
are like,
right?
well, it's just the layer of handicapping the process of people deciding this, right? It's like figuring
I'm
out the
not saying
college
it's not
football playoff.
interesting, yeah.
It's like figuring out what the college football playoff committee is going to decide.
Right. You just have to. My only point is you have to know what you're betting on, and then you can't complain when they don't make the decision you would make because it's just them making a decision.
Well, I'll tell you why I got such great odds on Damian Williams, or what I thought was great value in Damian Williams winning the MVP. Was that Super Bowl against the Niners? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Chiefs Niners, one of the many Chiefs Niners Super Bowls. Is that it was priced like the fact that there hadn't been a running back that had won the Super Bowl MVP in 20 years, which was the case. But if you also look in the last 20 years, you hadn't really had any great running back performances on the Super Bowl, and so I thought it was just kind of like essentially
you made such a bad bet, Rufus, that he got a 1 in 1,000 game result, and you still lost.
Still didn't win it.
Right.
Just as a note, because our sponsor for this podcast, they're back, Rufus, if you didn't know, Novig.
Yay.
So Kenneth Walker, 73.5 is the over-under on his rushing there, and it's minus 106 on the over and minus 104 on the under. How about that for a tight prop market? Anything else, Matt, on this? I know you got to get you out of here. Any last kernels of
I don't have many last kernels. I don't like the matchup. Like, I wish that somebody other than the Patriots had made it, but just from a standpoint of, I thought there was more interesting teams.
Really?
I think the Patriots they need a big game from May and the coaches. They could get it. There's just less.
What's the line in this game if it's the Bills and Josh Allen?
Bills would be favored because they would have won 2 straight games now too. The defense wouldn't have played like they did, etc. You
think the Bills would be favored?
Slightly favored, I think so, or pick them.
Roof, you agree with that?
I might be wrong about that because I know a couple weeks ago that would have been the case. I'm saying if the Bills would have actually got here, stock would have really risen.
Roof doesn't agree. Does Roof agree? He's muted himself because he doesn't want to argue.
I obviously think Seattle would be higher, but based on my numbers, but I'm high on Seattle. And I have been, and I earlier in the podcast I talked to Jeff about one reason why, and that I'm overvaluing their play in blowouts, because basically by making a game worth the same amount each game, and if I'm de-weighting the garbage time, I'm basically giving a shit ton of credit to them in the first half against the Saints in week 2 or 3 or whatever it was, or the first half against the Cardinals, or the first half against Washington, or there's about 4 games where they had 4 touchdown leads at halftime.
Right. I'm a big Seattle guy too. I wish it was John. That's why I don't like the matchup. It's like now they're a big favorite against a team that they could beat them because of the quarterback and coaches especially this spread. Whereas the Bills, Seattle versus the Bills pick would have been just a fantastic bet on the Seahawks. And I think that's what the line would have been. And that's why I'm disappointed in this matchup. Or Denver would be interesting in this game, too, if Denver would have won last week.
With Stidham?
Yeah, if they would have it would have been more interesting. There'd been more takes, more angles. But I think, All
right. Well, Matt, let's get you out of here. Thanks for joining us. I know
Jeff.
we dragged you here, so
No, I always like coming and talking. I worry I don't have enough more interesting things to say. You wanted to do props, I don't know.
Well, we got 2 props, I think. Yeah. 2 props that are good. So, all right, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good Super Bowl. Thanks.
Bet the process.